Welcome to the Luxe Leap. My name is Reland Logan, and we chat about women consultants making big moves, big wins, and the secrets to extraordinary branding. So I have a question for you. What if your mission-driven work had the training to match its impact? Today's guest is all about equipping purpose-led teams with the tools they need to lead, grow, and thrive. Meet Heather Burright, Chief Consultant and founder at Skills Masters Market, where customized instructional design meets smart change management. Heather built her business from the ground up with one goal in mind: to serve people through learning that actually creates behavioral change. From competency models to leadership development and wraparound support, Heather helps nonprofits and associations design the exact training solutions their teams need to carry the mission forward effectively and sustainably. She's also the voice behind the Learning for Good podcast and the founder of the nonprofit L&D Collective, where learning and development pros gather to raise the bar on what's possible in their sector. So please welcome the powerhouse behind Skills Masters Market, Heather Burright. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, Raylan. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited. We have so many mutual friends, so this is going to be a really good time. But before we dive into everything, why don't you let everyone who's listening know what inspired you to start your brand, and just give us the brief background. It doesn't have to be brief, but give us some context so we can get this party started.
Yeah. So I always thought at some point in my life and my career, I would own a business. I did not think it would be right now. So what inspired me to start my brand actually was a push from someone else. So I was working for a national nonprofit in 2020. And I was impacted by a mass furlough, as many people were who were working internally at the time. And they told us we think it's going to be 2 weeks, but it could be legally up to a year. And I knew then and there I could not wait a year. So I started doing research. I started reaching out to people in my network, asking questions, trying to determine if now was the time to start a business. I was also applying for jobs at the time because I'm like, I don't really know what's going to happen. And I wasn't sure would I be called back? Would it be 2 weeks? Would it be 2 months? Would it be a year? So just really trying to figure out what was next for me. And in that process, decided to go all in on creating my business. And the brand has been an evolution ever since, I would say. I don't know that it's ever done. But that was kind of the prompt. Sometimes you go all in on your own, and sometimes you get a little push. So
a little push, but sometimes it feels like someone's pushing you off a cliff. Even if it's like an inch in a curve, it feels like a whole cliff.
I mean, that's a whole cliff of a year, so it's fine.
Oh, I really do understand. It's very similar to my story. Mine was COVID, and it was like, well, have fun.
Yeah,
and here we are.
Exactly.
Let's be honest, we wouldn't have met each other if it wasn't for that. We're on completely different sides of the nation. So
it's true.
What in that change, and those moments are scary. They're not scary in hindsight, but they're really scary when they happen. But when you own a business, things start to almost snowball in a way, in beautiful ways, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. But beyond that push, was there a pivotal moment in your brand's journey where that really defined where you are today?
Yeah, like I said, I started doing some of that research, reaching out to people in my network to figure out, is this the right time? Is this the right place? Who should I be working with? What should I be offering? Just based on my skill sets and my experiences. And I had a fellow consultant who was in my ear as I was doing this. And she is a nonprofit fundraiser. She's very successful. And she's like, you need to focus on nonprofits. You need to do this. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I spent half my career inside of nonprofit, half outside of nonprofit. I wasn't really sure at that point what I wanted to do. And I wasn't really sure if nonprofit was a big enough niche really to build a business either. Right. So I'm like, maybe we'll see. And I don't know that it was an intentional decision at the start, but as I started building my business and as I started getting clients and looking at who I wanted to work with and what types of projects I wanted to work on, it just started to fall into place that
Yeah.
nonprofits were going to be my focus. I really love the variety of clients that I get in the nonprofit sector. If you think about nonprofits, it feels very niche, but over half of our healthcare systems are not for profit. Credit unions are not for profit. So it's not just these big
Yeah.
social service institutions that we tend to think of. There is actually quite a bit of diversity in the sector. Which is really amazing. And I think it's really inspiring to know that, like, you're creating training. A lot of times when you're doing this, you're behind the scenes. You don't always see the impact of the things that you create, but knowing that what I create is not just going to impact the people that are, taking the training or experiencing that solution, but it's also impacting the people they serve. And that larger kind of deeper mission and deeper impact has been really, really important for me.
I absolutely love that. And I think you and I talked about this outside of this podcast, but I've done a lot of work with nonprofits, worked at nonprofits, also worked at credit unions, but we did not talk about that. And in that space, as my brain's hearing you and thinking of like relevant context in my own experience, do you find, and now we're taking one of those like deep dives that I was talking about, do you find that there is a big difference, especially to give anybody scope? It is June of 2025, if you're listening to this. And nonprofits are under a bit of not a microscope, but we can say they're being lit under a fire just due to administration and financial constraints. Lots of these entities do get their funding not only from private donors, but also from government grants and things of that nature. And so the pressure is on because I'm working with one and I can feel it. And anybody I talk to who works with nonprofits can also feel that pressure. In that pressure, are you seeing that those that have really strong learning and development and systems are faring the weather a little bit better than those who it's now starting to shine a light on the fact that they haven't built those sustainable systems and or haven't done the learning and development to make it happen? Deep question, Heather. Here we
Yeah,
go.
no, it's a great question. And I'm trying to think over like past clients and organizations that I'm familiar with through the nonprofit L&D Collective as well. I think, so much of it is so dependent right now on the funding piece. A lot of organizations are either directly impacted by funding changes or they are concerned about what happens next. And so they're kind of tightening up on the budget. And there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. And I think that it's hard to say that, just because you have, good training, that you won't be impacted or
Yeah.
impacted in the same way, because at the end of the day, the financial constraints are a real concern. I think that where we get to see those benefits are in the organizational culture that gets created, and learning and development is a supportive part of that culture. So, is your leadership team prepared to make these transitions? Are they, clear and in their communication? Are they being as transparent as they can be going through this process? A lot of times those things, yes, there are some people who are just naturally good leaders who might think to do that, but a lot of times those things are things that are taught. Those are skills that are taught. Those are expectations that are built into organizational culture. And so that's where I think we start to see the benefits of a strong learning culture start to play out. So it's less, we had this training and so we're better off, and more just like, what is the culture of the organization, and are we prioritizing how people lead through uncertainty, how organizational change happens, how leaders are communicating, and those kinds of things.
And I think going on to leaders and organizational change, because I obviously ask a lot of these questions pointedly because things are popping up in my world and we cannot name names to everybody for privacy's sake. So deal with the fact that we're talking in circles. It's going to be okay. Insert your favorite nonprofit here. And in that space, with that little caveat of information, and I don't know that it's just a nonprofit issue, but like, let's talk about organizational change in and of itself and the ability to lead through uncertainty, because I find that that is a topic that lots of people need reassurance in right now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that we cannot give everybody a 1, 2, 3, and you're going to be fine right now in this podcast. That is not something you and I can do, because as consultants, we can both say, we need the nuances of your situation in order to guide you through it. Is it an L&D problem? Is it a branding problem? What are those nuances to walk you through those pieces? But as we look at change management in times of uncertainty, what are some things that you feel will help people through, and are some of the tools people need to become better leaders? Because a lot of time it is down to that soft skill of leadership skills.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it is a pretty complex topic to answer in one interview. Before I even begin to dive into this, I would highly recommend for anybody listening who is like, "Oh my gosh, that's me. I need more information or more support." I would highly recommend following Veronica Lafamina on LinkedIn. She's an organizational change expert with a nonprofit background, and she has led massive changes for organizations. So she is 100% a go-to in this space. I think for me, when I think about leading through change, there's something to being able to reassure people without making a promise, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't know how the budgets are going to be impacted. You don't know where funding is going to come from next time, if you're impacted by the federal funding changes. And so being as clear about that and as transparent about that as you can be, while also reassuring people that you're working towards a solution, and being able to share whatever it is you can in that process. I also think, and Veronica actually talks about this a lot, anytime there's a change, there is kind of a grief cycle that happens alongside that change, even a change you're excited about, right? Like if you think about having your first child, right? Like that's an exciting time, but there's also this moment where you're like, oh, like I'm not going back. Like I'm
There's
losing,
no going back.
right? I'm losing pieces of myself. I'm gaining a whole lot. And it's exciting, but I'm losing certain things as well. And so there's grief even in that joy, not to compare having a baby with what we're going through now. But the point is, when you go through change, even good change, there is grief that kind of coincides with that. And as a leader, making sure that we're giving space for people to grieve. If you have been through organizational staffing changes because of the budget situation, then knowing that it's not just the people who were let go who were impacted, but also the people who are still there, and that they are probably grieving too. And so just really being empathetic and open and transparent as much as possible, I think really goes a long way.
I think transparency goes a lot further than people think it does.
Yeah.
And I feel like people have very surface level conversations about transparency of like, yeah, just say it. Sometimes telling the truth, sometimes being transparent is really hard and very scary. And because ego will come in a big, massive way where your brain and body is going to tell you, oh no, they're going to have a reverse reaction. They're going to not like me. And so then we try to soften the blow, even though somebody may be more perceptive if you, to your point, are empathetic and still just give full transparency. And you're right, there is a grief. Like people are losing their friends, the people that they see and interact with just as much as they see and interact with their own families. And though it is not the same as having a baby, as you and I can attest, there still is a feeling to losing somebody you're close to.
Yeah.
And it's not talked about often enough, alongside the fact that transparency is generally a very surface level concept. yet in practice is very hard to do. And sometimes we just have to practice just saying the thing.
Yeah. It's hard because as a leader, you feel like people are looking to you for the answer. And a lot
Mhm.
of times in this place, it's I don't have the answer. And the transparent piece is we don't know, but we're working on it. But that's hard to say as a leader. So I have a lot of empathy for that side of things too. But I think the more we can be transparent and open, the better we are.
And completely the better we are. And also giving grace to your leaders. If you're listening to this and you are a mid leader or you're not fully the one in charge, we generally don't know. And sometimes people are leaders because they hold a really strong skill set for strategy and vision, and they don't hold the same skill set as you if you are very good at getting tasks done and you're a strong doer. Those things don't generally coincide with each other as similar skills, but they're all needed. And so we all lead in our own ways. But please note that a lot of leaders who are put in strategic visionary spaces, they really do not know the answer. They're just figuring it out as they go along and hoping that they made the right turn. And if they made the left turn, their goal is to get you back on track. And so you're right. There's a lot of empathy that needs to go to those folks because it's a hard job.
Yeah.
Especially because there's a lot of like uncontrollables right now. There's a lot of uncontrollables normally, but there's a exponential amount at the moment.
It's a little different at the moment, for sure.
Yeah, it feels I to lighten the mood. I was scrolling through Instagram. I I still have a tendency to doom scroll, not gonna lie to anybody. And I'm going through this thing and I follow this one account that's like millennials in debt or something like that. It's really funny. And it was like there was a time in 2016 where Obama was still president. Beyonce was on her formation tour. Um, I don't remember what some of the other ones were. And like we blamed Drake for all of our problems because he was hiding his child. It was like, what a time to be alive. And I was like, there was once a time where we really were concerned about Britney Spears with a snake around her shoulders and we didn't care about much
Yeah.
because life was safe. And it's been it's been a roller coaster. We've seen it in history. Life is roller coasters, but
It's
I
true.
would like to go
Every
back to the days.
simpler
Huh?
times, simpler times. Every
We want similar
generation
times.
every generation has one or two big events that um, impact them deeply and impact how they see the world. It impacts their worldviews. And so, um, we might be in one of those times, but it's okay. We come out of it. We always come
Fred, I
out.
don't think we've really left those times since I was about 10,
It
and it's
happens.
just been ongoing. Like, just doesn't
Well,
stop.
if you think about like 9/11 was something that shaped people who were old enough to remember it, right? The
I was
Great
about
Depression
10.
shaped people who, so there are big events in life. COVID definitely will be one of those events. It shapes the people who are old enough to be alive to have felt the impacts of it. Um, and it changes how you view things.
It changes it in a big way, and we've been going through, I'd say since late 90s, we've been going through some really huge changes. Like we all thought that December 31st, 11:59, that the world was going to blow up 1 minute later. Okay? 1 minute later, the world's ending. That clearly didn't happen, but I would say we started going through like massive changes. We had the dot-com boom, which was probably felt by folks a little older than us, if we're being honest. Like we were just kind of like, oh, mom has a cell phone. Or in my instance, I was, mom has a cell phone. And I'm going to play Snake on it. Good old fashioned green screen Nokia. We did have 9/11. That was a very hard day for me. I remember that day quite vividly. And I actually, in New York, went and visited the memorial on Memorial Day. Um, then, we start going through all these changes. Social media, I think, is a really big change nobody ever talks about. That changed how we interact with humanity, um, forced us to be even more of a global economy. And of course, I didn't notice because I was a high schooler and like MySpace was how I told you who my real friends were. And and Facebook came out like my senior year of high school. So these things are happening in real time that are soft big things, I would say. Like they're slowly happening, kind of like the growth of a child. I was just holding my kid this morning. I was like, when'd you get so big? You're like, you're really, really big. And then big things happen like COVID that just like are a punch in the face. 9/11, punch in the face. And then we have all these moments that just happen too, while big change is happening softly and slowly, not so slowly in the background. And it's a lot to navigate if you're a leader.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
how do you train people in L&D with that in mind? Because that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done too many world events trainings, but I think the biggest thing in learning and development is really understanding our audience anytime we're creating anything. I think that's often missing. I think we make a lot of assumptions about our audiences. And so maybe we have a subject matter expert or a stakeholder within the organization who is telling us their perception, but it's not necessarily reality current on the ground. And so the more we can understand the people that we're creating learning for and what their experiences are like and what their context is, the better we can create learning for them. So it's not necessarily like, what's the big world event, right? But like, if this person is going to have a new expectation and you want them to change behavior or create a new habit in some way, we have to know what their day to day looks like. What are the systems or processes that would prevent them from making a change? What would motivate them to make a change, and really like get into their minds and their lives and understand their context. So I think that's probably impacted by all of the world events. But it's really about just understanding specifically like who it is you're creating learning for and what is their context.
I love that because it's actually there's nothing different between what you just said and rebuilding brands.
There you go.
No, there's nothing different. It
It's
is.
the way.
It does. Like, go talk to the people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I've done a rebrand for somebody and they say, I ask about their audience and I go, okay, well, how do you know that to be true? I don't really know. It's like, have you talked to anybody? They're like, well, no. It's like, well, then how do you know?
Yeah. Yep.
So
So
interesting.
interesting.
I love that. Speaking of brands and like flipping it from the past and present, because we spent a lot of time in the present. What are your long-term goals for expanding your brand's impact? Because what you do is pretty powerful.
Yeah. So consulting, I think, is just a continuation at this point. I love working closely with my nonprofit clients and understanding what their needs are and coming up with solutions for those needs. That I think will continue. And that's a huge part of my brand. Obviously, it plays into how I show up on my podcast, how I show up on LinkedIn, those kinds of things. So that will continue. The Nonprofit L&D Collective is my private community for nonprofit learning and development people. Basically, any nonprofit employee who creates some sort of training or has some sort of training responsibility in their organization. And that is, it's getting ready for some upgrades. And so that's pretty exciting because that will impact, I think, parts of my brand, but really looking at right now, it's a free community. There's a lot of networking, it provides a lot of value for people, but really looking at how do we help create kind of that operating system for learning and development pros so that they have kind of a one-stop shop. They have the network, they have the job search support, they have the skill building opportunities to be able to create training that has a real impact, and just kind of layering in and giving them that one-stop shop, that operating system to help kind of launch their career and continue to help them show up as a strategic partner in their organization.
I love that. And I think we need more. Sometimes I feel like it goes by the wayside and then you like look around and you're like, well, this could be solved if somebody could teach everybody. And like I'm experiencing it in real time right now. And it's really important to have somebody who can have that strategic ability to also understand how to meet everybody to get them together. And to your earlier point, create habit changing skills. So it's a beautiful thing. How are you currently bringing people into that community? how is your marketing strategy adapting to grow that community?
Yeah. So I do a lot on LinkedIn. I would say that's like Learning for Good. My podcast is kind of my long form content, right? That's where I create things. It lives forever. It's amazing. Love that that avenue method. You're the marketing person. I love that option. LinkedIn is more short term. Like it exists. It's not going away, but you're probably not going to find something in a search from 2 years ago, right?
No.
So LinkedIn, I would say, is where I'm spending a lot of my time, just meeting new people in nonprofit L&D roles, and bringing people into the community that way. I am with this upgrade. I am looking at, how do I make sure that everyone has the information they need, because the last thing I want is for people to feel like I'm taking something away from them. Again, change comes with grief. And so that's not the point of this upgrade. The point is that you will continue to have all of these free networking events and things that have existed, but we're also offering new things that you have
Yeah.
the option you can opt into, right? So I'm looking at some intentional email marketing. I'm going to do a webinar or two just to kind of get
Nice.
people more connected to what it is I do, so that they kind of know what that content might look like inside the paid option. And so, yeah, we're excited, and I guess to be continued. I'm sure the marketing will continue to evolve as the needs arise, but I'm excited to get it started. And I still do a lot of just like relationship conversation networking type stuff. I think there's so much value in just this one-on-one time. I feel like it's a lot easier to be transparent and open to when you're having a conversation with someone versus me put my life story on LinkedIn or whatever. So I think there's still a lot of value in just connecting with people and having those conversations.
I I am with you on that. Like a lot of those things are doing are going to be super impactful, but I wonder how I actually next week I'm interviewing somebody who does a lot of like LinkedIn community building. Um she may or may not get like quite quite the grill down because I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions, but I do think that LinkedIn in general, I have made a lot of relationships, a lot of friends from this. I mean, we have literally met because one day I did a random outreach to Jamie and she goes, I don't actually need that, but it looks like you do a lot of presenting. You want to present for my group? And like, here we are,
Yeah.
um, very quickly. And I enjoy it for the sake of like building new relationships and having those relationships and being connected to women all over the world. But I agree with you. Like, I'm not going to give you my life story in a post.
There's no way you
Um,
could.
yeah. And like, and why do you want it? Like, it's, um, it's more natural coming in this way to like get like bite-sized pieces of my life story, your life story, journeys. And sometimes I just feel like I'm talking to myself. So I'm just like, yeah, here's the thing. And it's cool, but how many of you are actually going to see this and pay attention? Maybe today's post is just going to be like, are you actually reading this?
Oh,
Tell me your favorite
you
color.
probably get a
Like,
lot of comments actually on a post like that. Yeah, LinkedIn is all about how much you give, and so it's the algorithm is different than Instagram or anywhere else, and so it's its own kind of thing, its own kind of
some
thing to
beast.
learn. But yeah, the more you give, the more you get. So a lot of times it's sending people messages, it's commenting on other people's posts, it's getting outside of your like network,
Your
and
bubble
your
and
bubble.
teaching it how to get outside of your
Yeah.
bubble. That has been a fun party.
Yep. But sometimes I'll do a post on LinkedIn and I'll get 20 comments, and sometimes I get a post on LinkedIn and I got nothing. I don't know. I don't know what the magic answer is.
I don't know that there is one, Heather. I really, really don't. One of my favorite stories that I tell people is there's like one time I did a brainstorm for somebody. So if it's your first time listening, that is my strategic plan that I do for clients. And I did it for her like beginning of the year. And we ended up not moving forward for a variety of reasons, which is totally fine. They're personal to her. And life goes on. So that was January 2024. August 2024. I am chilling, sitting in this exact seat, look at my cell phone because I get a text message and it's like, I'm ready to work with you. And I was like, okay. And I had to like do a quick deep dive. And she's like, your LinkedIn posts have been so amazing. This person had not liked a single one, had not commented on a single one. I closed 20K in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you never know who's also watching for the things that you give on
true.
there.
Most people are just watching.
Yep. It's called the LinkedIn lurk. It's a good time. So if you do feel like me and you just feel like you're typing and talking to yourself, you really aren't. I just generally say that because that's how I feel, but that is not to make it so you do not post, interact with people, comment. You do make really cool friends.
It's true.
And that is my marketing tip for the day.
There you go.
All right. I have 2 fun questions for you.
Okay.
And then we go back to momming, but I ask these 2 questions of everybody and I never send them in advance. So are you ready? It's like Double Jeopardy.
No,
Just kidding.
I'm not, but we'll go for it.
It is not Double Jeopardy. They're really, really fun. And my first question for you is, what does a day of living a luxurious life look like for you?
Oh, okay. So first of all, it is quiet. There are no kids. I have 3 kids and they are very loud. And I don't understand. Like, I think they get it from me, to be honest, because my husband is not a loud person. But they're very loud. So just like anytime my husband and I travel, just us, I'm like, it's so quiet. um, so that would be the first thing. What I do during this, I kind of like everyday things, but maybe with a little bit of luxury. So I would probably like go to the gym, get a facial, maybe get a massage, right? Like some of those like things that you don't do every single day mixed in with like your normal day. But it's quiet.
I totally get that. I am the loud one too. I actually once said this at a lacrosse game. They're like, "Oh, does Grayson get his speed from you?" And I'm like, "I am fast, yes, but like I don't understand where we're going with this conversation." And then somebody had once also asked, Grayson's just so outgoing, like way more outgoing than your average, like little kid. Like, where's he getting it from? And I go, well, he clearly gets it from me because as you've seen here, I've said 300 words to his dad's like 2.
Yeah.
And they just like all laughed. And but I love to read in silence.
Yes. Right.
So I agree with you. I think loud people need quiet and we don't talk about it enough.
It's true. It's true. I'm like the first one when we get in the house to like, I don't know, start talking loudly or like getting excited and, dance party or whatever. But then like when I need them to go to bed because I need it to be quiet for a little bit.
I've started going, I live in the hills here in my neighborhood and there's this park that overlooks the city, not too far. I could walk, but I value my hips and my knees a little bit more than your average bear. And so I will drive up there. And in that drive, I've just been like putting out a blanket because it's summertime and just staring and just enjoying silence.
Very nice.
And then I have a lot to say after it's done.
Yes.
But it's okay.
It's balance.
Yeah. Something like that. All right. Last one, best one.
Okay.
If you could, in one word, what is your primary motivation in business?
One word?
Yes.
Oh man, that's a hard one. So let me talk it through. It's going to be more than one word and I'll try to get it down. I always say my personal mission is to help people do the most good in a way that feels good. And so what I mean by that is like I'm building skills, I'm building habits. They're all positive. I'm building community. It's to help with like accountability, but also just like surrounding yourself with people who can help you. So what's my one word? You're the brand person. I don't know. What's my one word?
It's either positivity or community or just do good, which we'll give a hyphen and call it one word.
Oh. I want to go with ease.
There you go. See, it just takes like saying a few random things.
Yeah. We had to
Ease.
talk
Why ease?
because I think at the end of the day, we're everybody is working so hard, hustling in some ways, right? It doesn't have to be that hard. So
Right.
I'm the kind of person that wants to come in and like help simplify. And so I do that, right? When I'm consulting, I'm helping you simplify. I'm helping you figure out what it is you need to prioritize. What's the easiest way to make this change happen? And then in the collective, it's, how can we give you a space where you can easily see what's happening in another organization. You can ask your questions. You can get the answers that you need. You can get ideas. You can brainstorm and you can take that back into your organization. It makes it easier, right? It simplifies the process. So I'm going to go with ease.
I love it. It's a beautiful word.
I just,
Nobody said it yet either. So I like it.
there you go.
That killed me so hard to nod and say yes to one word because I knew I was going to ask why. So like, one person actually called me out and they're like, you said that was last one, best one. You just asked me another question. I was like, I did, didn't I? I did.
It helps when you have to like process things out loud, then there's not as much follow up because I kind of answered your why question as I was going.
See, it's magic. It's beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to two wonderfully strategic women have a conversation about things that are oddly in alignment with each other, both learning and development and branding, the two jobs that requires asking a lot of questions. And in that space, Heather, how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and they're curious about more?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the easiest place. Speaking of ease, it's probably the easiest place to find me. I'm active there. You can DM me, you can follow me, you can connect with me. And that's a great place to get started.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I'm really grateful that you were able to pop in on the show. For those of you who sat with us through the whole time, I hope we gave you more than a few gold nuggets, diamonds, and all the other things that come with perceived luxury. And until next time, we will be here to talk to more extraordinary women and talk about their secrets to extraordinary branding. We'll chat soon. Bye, everyone.